Hi everybody, this is Darlene. And so my currently for the summer, I'm in my other level placement at the Southern Wayne High School with Principal Kevin Smith, or his name is Thomas Smith, but we all refer to him as Kevin. Um, and my focus for this week is academic leadership. Academic leadership is, in short, about student performance. So, to me, from an executive leader, school leader perspective, is really saying, as a result of my leading, how is teaching and learning in this school? So, as it relates to this particular standard, the growth value for students is really how the principal, the administrator is rated. So it's rated on a scale of does not meet expectation, meet expectations, or exceeds expectations. And so that will be parallel to testing, EVOS, things like that to be able to rate those things. So not only these rating values, but principals also receive not only for just these rating values, but also principals receive supplemental pay based on the number of students and the number they supervise, in addition to growth and achievement for these values. So there's a lot of emphasis placed on growth, which I definitely think is great. However, not only do I think there should be a focus on growth, I think there can be a little bit of problem with that because if we're only incentivizing growth, then it sometimes it perpetuates this misnomer that I've heard throughout education at all levels, that we educators do not necessarily have impact on proficiency, which is absolutely the opposite of not only my belief, but the belief, the stated belief of the North Carolina Department of Public Safety, Integrated Academic and Behavior Systems Division, IABS, or they house MTSS. And their belief, and my belief, is that with core instruction alone, we should really be seeing performance for, and when I say performance, grade level proficiency with core instruction alone for at least 80% of our students. And so that for me that goes ties back into a lot of times when we're talking about EVOS and even when we're talking about report cards, there's a lot of focus on growth. And I realize that growth is how we get to proficiency. However, I think that we really need to take a more direct look at proficiency itself so that we can actually meet some of the mandates that have been set out for us, not only by IABS or DPI, but also by ESSA. And then that's even a higher level of accountability because now we're talking about career college readiness. So I won't get on my soapbox too much about that. However, even though we know that testing was suspended for this year, Principal Smith and I, we discussed how high school testing is really reported on the report cards. And so when we look at math, those report card grades are only tied to the math one grades for the school. And then for English, it's only for English two grades. So, or scores. So, I really don't understand that. And if anybody chooses my video to watch and has some input that can kind of help me understand why just those two courses are evaluated for proficiency or college and career readiness for the school, I would love to know because to me that really makes no sense. So we discussed how that is really a problem because not only is it really not a true representation of the entire school, it is also impossible to really look at from year to year to be able to compare groups. Now, we can't compare teacher performance from year to year with different groups of students. So we can't do that if we're talking about, problem solving on our data. And then, so for the finally, the brunt of my work for the last week, really 2 weeks, have been has been ensuring that the high school report card contracts where the teacher and the parent need to say whether, not teacher and the parent, but the parent and the student need to decide whether or not they want the passing credit PC-19, the withdrawal credit so for no credit WC-19, or they want their numerical grade for each class. Making sure that those contracts, those parent student contracts, was reflected there is also in Power School. And so, as Principal Hooks, I'm sorry, not Hooks, that's my other placement, but as Principal Smith and I talked, he really talks about how we shouldn't have to do that. So it's myself, him, and the AP, how we shouldn't have to go behind the teachers and check, but just as Principal Kafele says in his 50 Questions for Principals book, the end of the day, it is the responsibility of the principal to hold teachers accountable, to hold the school staff accountable. And so making sure that, and they're still, even in the last weeks, last days have been some discrepancies, some things that have not been updated in Power School that will ultimately be on students' transcripts that are different than what was on the contract. And while I'm talking about achievement, the achievement standard, realizing that classroom grades and achievement, as far as testing, is not always commiserate. We do know that when the rigor and the content is most aligned to standards, that the scores and the grading also is really, that's what they're grading on, as opposed to a lot of other factors, that typically then you're going to end up having higher testing scores in those grades. So that's about all I have for academic achievement leadership. And I hope to hear some good feedback from you all, especially concerning that whole Math 1, English 2 thing, because I don't understand. All right, thank you.